Coming up next, we have Mike from Aircrew Interview, our English bloke friend. And he is quite a gentleman. He's quite a person in general, to say. And his love of aviation is second to none. He has been doing his own show for quite a while. His list of interviews in just the Tomcat world. I mean, this is just F-14. He has a huge amount of interviews he's done with some really legendary pilots, honestly, Aircrews, and but just to mention some F-14 people he did. You can catch Paco, one of the great interviews in multiple scenarios where Paco talks A6 F-14, and Mike did some great work with that. Also, one of our personal favorites, Schroeder from Grumman. Kurt Schroeder, I apologize. And he is our chief test pilot for the F-14 program here. Someone just about everybody knows. And also Keith Okie-Nance. That was another great interview he did. Hillary Toro O'Connor, 213 Black Lions. That was a great interview. Dave Parsons, Hey Joe. Another incredible interview. Filthy Phil Granfield. And one of my personal favorites, Dave Baronic, call sign Bio. Again, another great interview. And now we get to put the F-14 Tomcat Radio Show in his resume. Mike, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And one name you missed out there was Hooter, John Schreiber.
Oh,
he was
Hooter,
a great guy as well.
Apologize for that one. Yeah, again, another great interview. Excited to have you with us tonight. Let's start out where you found your interest as a young man in airplanes. How we basically got to where we're at right now and running such a fine, great, incredible show you're doing out there.
Yeah, thanks very much. I mean, it's not going to be as cool as Scott's story or anything as exotic as him. But so obviously I'm UK, as you can tell. I think I was born in 87 and my dad was always into aviation. He wanted to go into the Air Force. He didn't manage to get in. And then obviously Top Gun came out and I think it was about maybe 3 or 4. He played the video for me at home, and then I was hooked. I saw the Tomcat, and that was me. I was hooked, pretty much.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's interesting. And, usually it starts out with children, with parents. They are the ones that, you inspire the child. You point him in that direction. When you take him around the base, and it's not about the plane that's on the base. It tends to help, though. But when you take him around the base and that whole atmosphere, that energy, it's captivating. It's exciting.
So, yeah, and I remember the first, because obviously when we were younger, my dad used to obviously love air shows. Sorry. And we used to go around the air show scene in the UK. And I remember the first air show, I think it was RAF Mildenhall. And it was a Jaguar taking off in full reheat. And I had to hide under the blanket because it was so loud. And that was my first experience of, something loud. And I was like, oh my God, this, but then I grew to, love the noise. But at the time it was just awful. But now I love the noise.
Yeah, I have about the same experience as a child, getting brought to Grumman Calverton and, the Tomcat. And we'll say full reheat to keep with the UK lingo. And
oh, yeah. I'll try and say burners from now on.
But it was honestly... I think I cried. I think I was scared out of my mind, honestly. It was a diaper change, I'm pretty sure. It's not something you could...
Well, let me just jump in there a little bit. My little experience as a child. Out there, once again, out in Calverton, with pumpkin picking, and I hear the sky rip open. And I could feel the energy surging through my body. I'm like, what is that? I turn around, I look in the sky, and I see these 2 diamonds flying. And then all of a sudden I realize, holy moly, those are Tomcats. At this point in time, I know what they are because I watched Top Gun. So I'm probably 10 years old or so. And I'm just sitting there going, wow! Just totally blown away by what I'm watching.
That's the prized childhood of Long Island here. I've seen it on both sides. I've seen the Navy at Oceana, full-blown Tomcats. And I've seen Grumman Calverton on the assembly line, brand new Tomcats rolling out the door. And it's the energy and the atmosphere are 2 different types, but yet have the same culminating effect of you're screaming and flipping out. I mean, you just can't, just the only thing I could say for a lot of people that maybe wouldn't know, obviously wouldn't have the opportunity to be at Calverton. There were no flight rules at Calverton. It was farm fields. There was no housing. So where at Oceana, you're going to fly in, fly out, and you're not going to piss the locals off unless it's the one day a year you're allowed to for the weekend, for the air show. And that usually doesn't go well by Monday morning. There's a lot of angry people in the area. It's for the sound of freedom, and you'll see those actually banners everywhere in Oceana. A lot of people are proud of that. They hang them on their stores. And
Amen.
I love jet noise. But at Calverton, it was quite different. It was all farm fields. So if a Tomcat was low level, we saw a video recently someone put up, I believe it was a Jaguar, and it was running low level down a highway, literally right over the roadway past the traffic. And a lot of people were excited about that. And I thought when I saw that, I was like, that was just another day at Grumman Calverton, actually. Wings at 68, 150 feet off the ground, 500 knots right off the highway in front of the factory, and brake for the factory the second you get, to the clearing. It's different when the people surrounding the area are all working at the factory and their children are all working there, and it's not seen as a negative thing. It's actually a positive thing. You blow over a farm field, an afterburner, and the farmer's raising his hand cheering, not yelling. It's a big difference because his son's working at Calverton on the assembly line. Really cool, though. Also, you said that your dad had taken you to see Top Gun in 1987, I believe.
Well, yeah, I was born in 87.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I think he took me to the cinema maybe the year after. But then I remember maybe I was about 3 or 4. He put the video, if anyone's watching a video, VCR, and he put it on. And I was like, that's amazing. And I remember the opening scene, on the deck, and the burners opened up on the A model, and I was like, right, I'm hooked. That's me. That's what I want to do. Whatever I want to do, I want to be into aviation. And that, it literally hooked me. And I think from then I just I think I had everything F-14. Even if it was a tiny little toy, I'd be like, Dad, can I buy that? And he'd be like, okay. So everything, I had posters on the wall, everything over the F-14, because it's an incredible aircraft to me. It's amazing.
I think the main reason that we're all here right now is because of that opening sequence to that movie.
Oh,
it has brought us all together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely,
absolutely.
yeah.
So from there, you grew up and you had that notion you wanted to fly. We spoke a little bit about the RAF and trying to go down that road. And where did that take you? How did that work out?
Yeah, because I think, I went to, I don't know what you have. I mean, you graduate, I think 18, we have A levels. So in the RAF, you have to have 2 A levels to go into the RAF. So I had them. I went in to try to go in as aircrew. So that would be pilot or nav, or you would call it a RIO or WISO over in your country. And you go through all the tests. And I think I got through about 2 or 3 of the tests through, and I just wasn't good enough, unfortunately. And that kind of knocked my confidence, because that's all I wanted to do. And so I took a step back, and I went back to college and stuff like that. And then I tried again when I was about 23 years old. But I went in for the engineering roles and stuff like that, or anything to do with the engines. And again, it just didn't work out. There was the rules, and there was so many people I could get in at the time. There was just not many people, going through the system at the time. So that, again, knocked me back. And after that, I kind of worked a few, I guess, in quotes, normal jobs, retail and stuff like that. And then I went to study aeronautical engineering at a place called Marshall Aerospace. And again, I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then personal reasons got in the way of that, and I had to leave, unfortunately, even though I absolutely loved it. And then I had the idea for Aircrew interview, because I just wanted to be in aviation, whatever it was, speaking to brilliant guys like you, and I just wanted to be in that. And I thought this is the best step to just being able to make a career out of chatting to aircrew, ground crew, whatever. So that's basically where I am at the moment.
Yeah, and that's incredible, because the road to get in the RAF it's distinguished. It's hard. It's not. They don't. It's one of the premier air forces on the planet, the best of the best. Just the same way you would apply to the Navy for the F-14 Tomcat, and the RAF has some strict rules to get in there, and which makes it a lot of applicants, and only a few make it through the pipeline. One of the cool things about it I want to mention, because with Peacock, you had mentioned on Happy Hour about his pilot exchange program, and the fact that leak, stir, tongue, a bunch of you guys, Siphon, you probably know about this. With the pilot exchange program, they'll take pilots and swap them around, where you'll be in RAF and you get an opportunity to serve in the Navy temporarily. And someone like Peacock had an opportunity to fly the A6 and Intruder. And meanwhile, he was in the Tornado over in RAF. So that's quite exciting. And to hear that, your dreams didn't get to be in the RAF because of the pilot exchange program. Who knows? You could have flown a Tomcat. That would have been.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking to, it was actually off screen with Rick Peacock Edwards, and I was just talking about their F-14 to Tornado F3 exchange. And then there's a few groups on Facebook, and I've seen a few F-14 guys on it. And they were actually, it was really interesting. They were like comparing the F3 to the Tornado. And they said basically the A model was equivalent to the Tornado F3, but the B and D was so much better because of the engines, which I found a real like interesting comparison, which is interesting for me because I've always been like my main goal is to try and get aircrew from either side. So a Tomcat guy who's went on exchange and flew the Tornado and vice versa, but they just seem to be so rare because I would love to compare the two types, because they're very similar. I'm probably going to get in trouble from you F-14 guys here, but like everyone says, okay. The F-14.
Well, our comparison will be rather short.
Bio bollocked me on this one, actually. He said, I get really annoyed because he said everyone says the F-14 is an interceptor, but it's not, whereas the Tornado is classed as generally an interceptor. That's what it was. So the comparison between the both, I know they do similar roles, so that is my main goal. So if any of you guys, know anyone like, crossbreeding there, like I would love to chat to them because I think it'll be a great interview to get the American side and the English side of that.
I think that can be arranged. I think Tung and I both know some guys.
Yeah,
so
I think we all do,
I already talked to Lorenz about that, and we can make it happen.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, the comparison side of things will be rather short. There's a few things missing in that Tornado. The auto wing sweep feature, the blokes forgot to put that in there, and so the pilot is going to be manually holding that wing.
I'm going to stick up for the Brits here on this one. What's it?
I love the Tornado.
It basically came down to money, obviously, the auto wing sweep on the Tornado, and obviously finance is obviously a big thing in aviation all the time. Absolutely. But the pilot said once you got used to it, within I think I was talking to someone like a couple of flights, and they were just like, it was natural like a gear stick. That's what they said, and they said we didn't need it anymore. But I know the Saudis had, because obviously the Saudis have a fair bit of money, they had the auto wing sweep and their Tornado F3s.
Yes.
But I don't know. I'm in front of a bunch of F-14 guys, so I'm not going to.
I think it's a fair comparison, Mike, to be honest with you. Yeah. I've talked to quite a few guys that have flown both and lucky enough to take some Tornado guys for rides in our squadron when we were at sea. We, that kind of thing happens quite often. And Tung and I both knew quite a few guys in the RAG too that had come over and really neat stuff. But the Tornado had some features that the F-14 didn't have that it was modernized early on that we were jealous about when we talked to those guys. So it was an impressive airplane. There was some odd things about the Tornado where the stores had to adjust as the wings sweep into angle wise, which is another thing that can fail, obviously, right?
Of course, yeah.
And certainly the automatic wing sweep of the F-14 is something that you enjoy as a fighter pilot because you like automatic systems. But the problem is when automatic stuff stops working, it can surprise you. And we lost more than one F-14 to pilots that didn't realize that their wings hadn't swept forward when they were supposed to. So if you're doing it manually all the time, you're more connected to the airframe, especially as a lower time pilot. Certainly after you had a few hours in the F-14, it became pretty obvious pretty quickly when the wings didn't do what they were supposed to do in automatic, and it was quite common actually. So automatic systems and lots of moving parts in 1960s and 70s designs can always bite you, right?
Of course, yeah. And surprisingly, when I was on my Facebook group and I was, obviously honored to come on the show, I was talking about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to bring up the F3, trying to wind up the Americans a bit. And everyone actually hates the F3 in the UK, surprisingly. Everyone's like, oh, F-14 is the best. I'm like, so I think as a Brit, I always go for the underdog, but probably the F-14 is a better aircraft in general.
Well, every airframe has its weakness, to say, in technology, and it's all money. That's what it always comes down to. And I've heard so many countless, F-14A pilots will tell you the weakness was the HUD in the aircraft. It definitely was. In the day when the airplane was first in its inaugural stage in the 70s, the HUD was way ahead of itself. By the time the 80s and 90s came around, the HUD was dinosaur equipment, and it really needed to be replaced. So you ask any pilot that wants to keep his head out of the aircraft in an F-14, and he's doing an intercept, to say, he's going to look in the mirrors at his wings before he looks down at the dashboard to get an idea of his speed. He's going to look where the wings are. That's going to tell him his technical airspeed without having to glance down real quick. But so, I mean, again, every aircraft has its weaknesses and its money. So like you said, the Tornado definitely could have had auto sweep. The Saudis did do it. It's just the English, like us with the TF-30 and the Tomcat, they learned to work around it to say, get the most out of the platform without losing much. But speaking of that Tornado, and again, going back to that Peacock happy hour you did, he had mentioned and you had mentioned, did the Tornado ever come to the States for an air show? And, sir, I am proud to tell you that the Tornado did come to the States for an air show. And it not only came to the States, it came to Grumman Calverton. That was probably one of the highlights of my times out there, because it's the only swing wing fighter that ever showed up at Calverton short of a Tomcat. It was flown by the Germans. We had an air show, I believe, in 97, a year after Grumman had vacated the property. And the town of Riverhead, the town where the facility resides in, had hosted the air show. Ironically, the Navy did not send a Tomcat because they said they didn't have one to send, which I'm speechless on that to this day. 23 years later, 350 of them, I have one to send back to the factory for an air show, the last air show at the factory. But still, we had the Tornado. It was exciting. A quick story without incriminating myself. I was out on 25 when that Tornado showed up. I was on my Ninja, and I'll just say I was matching the speed of the Tornado while he was skirting down the highway. I guess you'd say weapons system officer in the backseat was kind of cheering away at me as he was, side by side. And then he made a hard left turn for the field at Calverton. Exciting, though, to have them there. And I pulled right into Calverton as soon as they landed, down to the flight line and talked to them. And some German guys, they were just so happy to be here. They were happy to bring the Tornado. They got such a warm reception. I don't want to say many of the kids around the area thought it was an F-14 just because of the similarity in looks. But it's exciting to be able to tell you that the Tornado did actually get to an air show in America. Not just that, but Grumman Calverton, actually.
Now, like you've just pointed to that story, all I'm thinking of now is, when Mav's on his motorbike in the F-14, that's what I'm thinking about you with the Tornado now.
I don't want to say it was identical, but I think his speed was a lot less than I was going. But again, that was exciting to be able to share that. I heard that during the show, and it's definitely something I wanted to mention to you and stuff. So, it's really cool what you're doing, and we really appreciate it. As the world in general, to say, many of us, and even before we started doing this, I had been following you for years, listening to countless guys come through, tell some great stories, great history. Kind of what we're doing here, we're a little more domed over, to say, working with the F-14 Tomcat, mainly.
Well, actually, when I interviewed Toro, we went down to... Oh, sorry if I'm taking up too much time. Just stop me anytime here, guys. When I was interviewing Toro, when she came over to the UK, we filmed in a museum at Gatwick, near Gatwick Airport. We went for a few drinks afterwards and stuff like that. And because I interviewed so many Tomcat guys, she said, "Oh, you may as well call it Tomcat interview rather than Aircrew interview." I was like, "Yeah, right. Probably good point, Lee."
She's good people though. She's a solid Rio too. So good interview. I saw that.
Yeah, she's really nice. Yeah. Top girl. And just one more story I actually want to share with you guys before I take up any more time. I actually did see the Tomcat fly because I used to live in America for 2.5 years, and I saw the F-14A fly at Miramar in 1999, and that I was just obsessed. That was my life dream completed. I was box checked, and I was like, that's it, I'm done, that's great. And I was so impressed by it. The wings back at 68 degrees. faster, pass. That was the best thing I've ever seen.
It's one sexy airplane, that's for sure. And no matter what angle you look at it at, I don't think there's a bad angle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I appreciate you having me on this show, guys. It's brilliant so far.
Oh, absolutely, and we thank you for coming, and it's awesome, and glad you can stick around. Again, thank you for everything you're doing for the community. Thank you for logging everybody's history and making it, accessible for the world, for the community to be able to be a part of and learn what they've done and share, so that it's not lost into the wind. It's recorded so that everybody can learn from this. And again, history is nothing. If we don't learn from our history, we'll never know where we're going in the future. And history is nothing more than an example on what we've done. And again, thank you for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate your kind words. So thank you.
You're welcome.